The alien palace was silent, not the normal kind of silence. This was the kind that pressed down on the chest and made even powerful beings careful with their breath. The palace was enormous. Its ceiling stretched high above, glowing with soft white light that had no clear source. Tall pillars made of smooth crystal lined the long hall. Symbols of ancient alien power were carved into every surface. The floor reflected the light like still water. The palace was still silent. The queen had not yet stepped away from the human. Her hands rested lightly on his shoulders as if she needed to be sure he was real. Hundreds of eyes watched them. Confusion filled the hall. Finally, the queen spoke again. Her voice was calm now, but softer than anyone had ever heard. "Do you remember the storm world?" she asked the human. He nodded once. That was all. The queen turned slowly, facing the palace. "Years ago," she said, "before I wore this crown, before I ruled anything at all, I was sent on a mission." Her eyes drifted upward, not looking at anyone in the room. The mission was secret. Only a few knew. We were exploring the outer edge of human space. A quiet wave of surprise moved through the nobles. Human space was considered worthless, dangerous, untamed. The queen continued. "Our ship was attacked. Not by an enemy fleet, not by war." She paused. "By nature." The palace listened closely now. "Our engines failed, fell from the sky, and crashed onto a human frontier world, a dead planet by galactic maps." Her fingers tightened slightly. But it was not dead. Years earlier, fire burned across the ground. Smoke filled the air. The alien ship lay broken, half buried in rock and sand. The queen, then only a commander, was trapped inside. Her leg was crushed, her armor shattered. Her crew was gone. She dragged herself from the wreckage, bleeding, weak, and alone. Her communicator was dead. The sky was dark with storms. Lightning cracked the ground. Strange sounds echoed from far away. She knew the truth. She would not survive long. The creatures of that world came at night. They were fast, sharp, hungry. She hid in the wreckage, barely breathing, holding a broken weapon that could fire only once. Then she heard footsteps, not claws, not many, just one. A human. He approached carefully, holding a simple tool, not a weapon. His clothes were worn, his face tired. When he saw her, he froze. A wounded alien. Blue skin, strange armor. She expected fear. She expected violence. Instead, the human slowly lowered his tool. "You're hurt," he said, that was all. He did not ask who she was. He did not shout. He did not run. He carried her away from the wreckage and hid her in a small underground shelter. It was dark, warm, and safe. For days, he returned. He brought water. He brought food. He cleaned her wounds. When the creatures came close, he stood outside with fire and noise, drawing them away. He barely slept. She asked him once why he helped her. He answered simply, "No one deserves to die alone." Back to the palace, the queen's voice trembled slightly as she continued. "I was weak. I was helpless. And he protected me." The nobles exchanged looks. Some listened in disbelief, some in anger. "When my people finally arrived," the queen said, "they asked him what he had seen." She looked directly at the human now. He could have pointed at me. He could have asked for power, could have demanded reward. Her voice lowered. "He lied." Gasps filled the hall. "He told them he found nothing. He told them the wreckage was empty." The queen's eyes hardened. "If they had known who I was, if they had found me before I healed, they would have taken me away. And he would have been executed for helping an enemy." The human had risked death. For nothing. For kindness, the queen whispered. She took a slow breath. "I survived because of him, not because of my fleet. It's not because of my power." She looked back at the nobles, but because of a human. The palace was no longer silent. Low voices began to rise. "This proves nothing. One act does not change a species." He manipulated her. Jealousy burned in many eyes. A powerful noble stepped forward, his voice sharp. "So this human thinks he owns the queen's loyalty?" The human did not respond. The queen did. Her gaze turned cold. "Owns nothing," she said. "He asked for nothing." The noble bowed slightly, hiding his anger. Around the hall, alien elites whispered, Why him? Why a human? Why not one of us? The queen returned to the human's side. Her voice dropped, meant only for him, but the silence carried it. You saved my life. When my own people could not, the human looked at her calmly. I did what anyone should, he said. That answer disturbed the palace even more, because it meant humans were not what they believed, and some beings in the room did not like that at all. The tension grew. Jealousy sharpened. The seeds of conflict were planted. Hundreds of figures stood inside. Alien nobles in rich armor. Military commanders with glowing eyes. Scientists holding data tablets close to their chests. Elite guards holding weapons strong enough to level cities. No one spoke. At the very center of the hall stood one human. He was not in chains. He was not injured. He carried no weapon. He stood with his hands relaxed at his sides, his back straight, and his face calm. That alone made many aliens uncomfortable. Humans were known across the galaxy. Everyone had heard the stories. Weak bones, soft skin, short lives.
Easy to break.
Humans were labor workers, traders, sometimes pets of stronger races. Never leaders, never important, never dangerous. And yet, this human did not look afraid. He had been brought to the palace as a witness, not a guest. No one had offered him a seat. No one had explained why he was here. Some aliens expected punishment, others expected shame. Many waited to see him fail. Whispers moved quietly through the crowd. Why is a human here? Does not belong in this hall. He should be kneeling. But the human did not kneel. He simply waited. Time passed slowly. Then, the massive doors at the far end of the palace began to open. A deep, low sound echoed through the hall as the doors pulled apart. Light spilled in from behind them, brighter than before. The guards immediately lowered their heads. Every alien noble dropped to one knee. The scientists bowed deeply. Commanders placed a fist over their hearts. The alien queen had arrived. She walked forward with calm authority. Her steps were steady and controlled. Her armor shone with symbols of conquest and peace. Her presence alone made the air feel heavier. She was known across the galaxy. She had ended wars. She had crushed rebellions. She had united rival species under one rule. She was feared. She was respected. She was absolute. The entire palace bowed. Everyone except the human. He did not move. He did not bow. He did not kneel. He did not even look away. The sound of breathing stopped. A ripple of shock moved through the hall. Guards tightened their grip on their weapons. Nobles stared in disbelief. Some aliens hissed in anger. How dare he? What did he want to die? Kill him now! The queen stopped walking. Her eyes locked onto the human. For a long moment, no one moved. The human met her gaze calmly. His face showed no pride and no fear, just quiet focus, as if he had already accepted whatever would happen next. The queen studied him. She said nothing. Then something impossible happened. The queen's posture changed. Her shoulders relaxed. Her eyes widened slightly. She dropped the staff in her hand. It hit the floor with a sharp sound that echoed through the palace. Gasps filled the hall. Before anyone could react, the queen ran, not walked, not moved with royal grace. She ran. Her guards shouted in alarm. Out. Weapons were raised. Orders were half-spoken and cut off in confusion. The queen crossed the distance between the throne and the human in seconds, and then she wrapped her arms around him. She hugged him tightly, her face pressed against his shoulder. Her hands gripped the back of his coat as if he might disappear. The human froze for a single breath. Then he gently returned the embrace. The palace stopped existing. No one spoke. No one moved. No one understood what they were seeing. The most powerful ruler in the galaxy. Hugging a human, a weak species, a nobody, a witness. The queen closed her eyes. For the first time, her voice shook as she whispered, "You are alive." The guards stood frozen. The nobles stared in horror. The scientists dropped their data tablets. This moment broke every law, every rule, every belief the galaxy had ever held. The human said nothing. He only stood there, holding the queen as she held him. Slowly, she pulled back, still keeping her hands on his shoulders, as if afraid to let go. She looked at him with something no one had ever seen on her face before. Relief. The palace remained silent. No one dared to speak. No one dared to question. Because in that moment, every being in the hall understood one terrifying truth. This human was not insignificant. Whatever he had done in the past had changed the fate of the galaxy. The silence did not break. It only grew heavier. The silence did not last, broke slowly like ice cracking under pressure. Alien nobles began to speak in low, angry voices. Whispers turned into sharp words. Sharp words turned into open accusation. This is manipulation, a trick, a human lie. The human stood quietly as the palace turned against him. One noble stepped forward, his armor glowing with status and power. His voice was loud and cold. "Humans are known for deception," he said. "They pretend to be harmless. That is how they survive." Others nodded. They hide behind weakness. They gain trust. And then they take what they want. The human did not move. The military commander added, "Humans are dangerous because they have nothing to lose." The queen listened. Her face showed no anger, but something else in certainty. That alone shocked the palace. A tall council member, older than most, walked slowly toward the center. His rank symbols shone brighter than the rest. "This is unacceptable," he said. "Human standing this close to the throne. It's touching the queen, influencing her." He pointed at the human. "This creature does not belong here." The word creature echoed. Some guards shifted their stance. The queen raised her hand slightly. "Enough," she said. But the council member continued. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "we do not question your past. But your emotions cannot guide galactic law." The palace grew tense. "Humans are weak," the council member said. "They break easily." "That is proven." He stepped closer. "And what breaks easily lies easily." A ripple of agreement moved through the hall. The human finally looked up. The queen turned toward him. For the first time since entering the palace, the human spoke. His voice was calm, not loud, not proud, not angry. "I helped her," he said, "because she needed help. That is all." The room froze for a heartbeat. Then laughter, cold, mocking laughter filled the palace. "Ill," some nobles laughed openly. Others shook their heads. "That is all? Such a simple excuse?" "Humans always pretend to be noble," one scientist sneered. "If humans were truly kind, they would not fight wars." The human did not argue. He did not defend humanity. He simply stood. The council member folded his arms. "Tell us," he said, "what reward were you promised?" "None," the human replied. More laughter. "What power did you seek?" "None." "Then why risk death?" The human paused for a moment. "Because leaving someone to die felt wrong." That answer silenced a few voices, but it angered many more. "Meaningless words," the council member said. "Humans break, humans fail. Humans are not important." The queen closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, the palace felt colder. "You believe this human is lying?" she asked. "Yes," the council member replied. "And even if he is not, one kind act does not change your species." The queen looked around, at the nobles, at the guards, at the scientists. "Then you believe humans are weak?" "Yes," many answered. "You believe they are fragile?" "Yes." "You believe they exaggerate their worth?" "Yes," the queen nodded slowly. "Then we will not judge him by words," she said. The palace stilled. "We will judge him by truth." Every eye turned toward her. "A trial," she continued. "Not of loyalty, not of intent." She turned toward the scientists. "But of reality." Murmurs spread. "What kind of trial? What truth?" The queen's voice was steady. "Test him," she said. The human looked at her. She met his gaze. "Not to punish," she added quietly, "but to reveal." The council member smiled slightly. "A wise decision." He turned toward the guards. "Take the human to the research wing." The guards moved forward. Heavy footsteps echoed across the floor. The human did not resist. He did not look afraid. As the guards reached him, one noble whispered loudly enough for others to hear, "This will end quickly. Humans do not last." The queen watched as the guards placed energy cuffs around the human's wrists. The cuffs glowed softly, adjusting to his body. Still, he stood straight. As they began to lead him away, the human turned his head slightly. He looked at the queen. She gave him a small nod, not as a ruler, as someone who remembered a storm world. The palace doors closed behind him. The nobles relaxed. The council member spoke again. "When this ends," he said, "the galaxy will see humans for what they truly are." The queen said nothing, but her eyes followed the door long after the human was gone, because she remembered one truth the palace did not. Humans survived worlds that should have killed them. And if the galaxy believed they were weak, then the galaxy was about to be surprised. The research wing was cold and bright. White light filled every corner. Smooth metal walls reflected silent movement. Alien scientists stood behind clear energy barriers, watching carefully. The human stood alone in the center of the room. No chains. No fear, no anger. Data screens lit up around him. The lead scientist adjusted his controls. "This will be quick," he said. "Humans are fragile." Several scientists nodded. They expected weakness. The first test began. A field of controlled radiation filled the chamber. The level was low, safe for most species. The human felt the heat, but he did not react. The sensors showed normal stress, elevated heart rate, nothing unusual. Scientists increased the radiation. "This should cause cellular damage," he said calmly. The numbers climbed. Still, the human stood. Sweat formed on his brow, but his posture did not change. The scanners beeped. "No rupture," one scientist said. "No organ failure," another added. Confusion spread. Radiation reached a level that would force many species into recovery chambers. The human took a slow breath. The radiation was shut down. The lead scientist frowned. "Strange," he muttered. "Proceed to the next phase." The second test began. A controlled toxin entered the air, invisible, designed to weaken muscles and slow the mind. Most species collapsed within minutes. The human inhaled. His eyes narrowed slightly. His breathing changed. Then nothing. His body adjusted. Chemical readings shifted. The toxin bonded, then broke apart. One scientist stepped closer to the screen. "He's neutralizing it," she said quietly. "That's impossible," another replied. "He has no defense system for that." But the data did not lie. The toxin stopped working. The human blinked once. "That should have killed him," someone whispered. The room grew tense. The lead scientist swallowed. "Increase exposure," he ordered. Toxin concentration doubled, then tripled. The human dropped to one knee. Scientist smiled. "There it is." But then the human stood again. His muscles tightened. His breathing slowed. His body adapted. The toxin readings fell. The room went silent. "No species adapts that fast," the scientist said. But the human had. The third test began. A deep cut was made along the human's arm. Clean, controlled, blood flowed. The scientists watched closely. "Healing should be slow," one said. Primitive biology. Minutes passed. The bleeding slowed. Skin pulled together. Cells rebuilt. The wound closed faster than expected. One scientist stepped back. "That rate. It's wrong." Another checked historical data. "Some warrior species heal like this," she said. "Only after genetic engineering. The human had none." "He was born this way." Queen watched from behind the glass. Her eyes did not leave him. The test stopped. The scientists gathered around the central display. They pulled records from across the galaxy. Human history, planetary disasters, wars, extinctions. They compared timelines. Silence filled the room. One scientist spoke slowly. "Humans survived planetary ice ages," another added. "They survived asteroid impacts, global floods, radiation exposure, mass extinction events." A younger scientist looked confused. "These disasters wiped out entire species elsewhere," she said. "But humans endured." The lead scientist's voice shook. "They didn't dominate nature," he said. "They endured it." The screen showed images of ruined cities, flooded lands, burned skies. Humans rebuilt, again and again and again. "They evolved through hardship," the scientist continued. "Pain shaped them, loss shaped them." The room was completely silent. Single scientist whispered the words that changed everything. "Humans should not exist." "But they do." The human stood quietly. He had heard nothing, but he felt the shift, the fear, the understanding. The queen stepped forward. Her reflection appeared in the glass. She watched the human with new eyes. not as a rescued survivor, not as a memory from the past, but as proof. Proof that the galaxy was wrong. The council member arrived, expecting weakness, stopped when he saw the data. His confidence faded. "This must be exaggerated," he said. The lead scientist turned toward him. "It is not," he replied. "If anything, we underestimated them." The Queen's expression changed. Her shoulders straightened. Her voice was calm but firm. "End the tests," she said. The barriers lowered. The human stepped forward. No guards approached him. No one spoke. The Queen faced the scientists. "You believed humans were weak," she said. No one answered. "Believed they were fragile," she continued. Still, silence. "You were wrong." The scientists bowed their heads. The council member did not. But even he could not meet the human's eyes. Fear had entered the room. Not fear of violence, fear of truth. Because the galaxy had built its future on a lie, and humans were living proof of it. The Queen turned back to the human. Her gaze held respect now, something deeper. The kind earned, not given. The human met her eyes calmly. He said nothing. He did not need to. The data had spoken for him. The throne room filled again. The same massive hall, same glowing pillars, the same powerful nobles and commanders. But something was different now. Fear sat where confidence once lived. The Queen entered slowly, her step steady, her face unreadable. Guards lined the walls, standing straighter than before. Behind her came the human. No chains, no restraints. Just quiet footsteps. Whispers spread instantly. "That's him. The human. The one who survived." Some nobles avoided looking at him. Others stared openly, their old pride replaced with uncertainty. The Queen walked to the center of the hall and turned to face everyone. Her voice echoed clearly. "Listen." The palace fell silent at once. "For generations," she said, "this galaxy has believed a lie." Her gaze swept across the nobles. "We believed strength meant dominance. We believed survival meant conquest." She paused. "We believed humans were weak." No one spoke. "We believed humans were fragile," she continued. "We believed they were unimportant." The Queen's voice hardened. "We were wrong." A wave of shock moved through the hall. She raised her hand, and the data screens activated above the palace floor. Images appeared, radiation charts, toxin resistance, survival records, proof. "Humans are not weak," the Queen said loudly. "I are quiet survivors." Her voice carried power now. "They do not seek control. They do not chase domination. They endure." Some nobles shifted uneasily. "They survive worlds that kill others. They adapt where others fall. They rebuild when everything is lost." The Queen stepped forward. "The galaxy misunderstood them," she said. "And misunderstanding nearly made us their enemy." That word enemy hung heavy in the air. She turned toward the human. "This one did not ask for power," she said. "He did not ask for wealth. He did not even ask to be believed." She faced the hall again. "And yet his people endure more than any species here." Silence. Then the Queen raised her voice. From this moment forward, she declared, "Humans are protected allies of the crown." Gasps filled the palace. "Any harm done to a human," she continued, "will be treated as an act of war." The words struck like thunder. Guards stiffened. Commanders exchanged looks. Nobles felt their world shift. The Queen was not asking. She was declaring law. The council member who had mocked the humans stepped forward, his voice tense. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "this changes everything." "Yes," the Queen replied calmly. "It does." She turned back to the human. "For too long, humans were overlooked," she said. "That ends today." Then she did something no ruler had done before. She stepped down from the throne. The palace froze. She stood before the human, not above him. The Queen inclined her head slightly, not a bow, a gesture of respect. The room held its breath. The nobles followed. One by one, they lowered their heads. The same palace that had mocked the human now bowed. The human stood quietly. He looked uncomfortable. The Queen smiled faintly. "You have earned reward beyond measure," she said. "Power, titles, anything you wish." The human shook his head. "I don't want any of that," he said gently. The queen studied him. "Why?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Because helping someone doesn't mean you own them," he replied. "And surviving doesn't mean you deserve to rule others." A murmur passed through the hall. The queen felt something tighten in her chest. "You refuse everything?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "I just want to go home." The queen nodded slowly. "You may," she said, "and you will never walk alone again." She stepped back, returning to her throne. The human turned to leave. As he walked away, the nobles watched in silence. No laughter, no mockery, only respect. The queen watched him until the doors closed. She knew the truth now. The galaxy had feared power, but it should have feared endurance, because humans did not conquer. They survived, and sometimes that was far more dangerous. The news did not spread with explosions. It spread with silence. From the alien palace, a single message traveled outward. It moved through trade routes, data relays, and diplomatic channels. It reached worlds that had never cared about humans. At first, many did not believe it. Humans were weak. Humans were fragile. That had always been the truth. But the data was clear. Medical records, survival charts, historical proof. Species after species studied the information. Councils argued. Scientists rechecked numbers. Commanders looked at their war plans and quietly erased them. Humans were not what the galaxy thought. Across distant systems, laws began to change. In some empires, humans were removed from labor camps. In others, humans were given protection status. Trade agreements were rewritten. Borders were adjusted. Old warnings were deleted. New ones were added. Do not underestimate humanity. The word fragile disappeared from human records. It was replaced with something new, enduring. The human did not stay to see it happen. He left the palace the same way he arrived, quietly. No escort of honor, no celebration, no parade. He walked through the outer gates alone. The palace guards watched him go, standing straighter than before. Some bowed, others simply lowered their eyes. None mocked him. Ship waited at the landing platform. Small, simple, human-made. He paused at the bottom of the ramp and looked back once. High above, the queen stood on the balcony. Their eyes met across the distance. She did not wave. She did not call out. She simply placed her hand over her heart. He nodded. Then he boarded the ship. The engines ignited softly. The human vessel lifted into the sky and disappeared among the stars. The queen remained where she was, long after the ship was gone. Her advisors approached her carefully. "You changed the balance of the galaxy," one said. "Yes," the queen replied. Another spoke. "Some species are afraid now." "They should be," she answered calmly. She turned away from the stars and back toward the throne room. "The galaxy believed strength meant power," she said. "They believed survival meant domination." Her voice lowered. Humans proved something else. Across the stars, reactions continued. Some species felt shame. Others felt fear. A few felt hope. Human colonies received unexpected visitors, not invaders. Observers. Scientists asked questions. Diplomats asked permission. Some species offered apologies that came centuries too late. Humans responded simply. They did not demand revenge. They did not demand control. They continued to live. They built. They repaired. They endured, as they always had. The queen ordered a new record added to galactic history. Not a warning, not a threat. A lesson, it read. Humans survived because they adapted. They endured because they had to. They became dangerous not through conquest, but through persistence. On a quiet human world, far from the palace, the human returned home. The land was simple. Air was clean. The sky was wide. He stepped onto familiar ground. Life continued. There were repairs to make, crops to tend, people to help. No one bowed to him. He did not want them to. At night, he looked at the stars. He knew things had changed, but he did not feel powerful. He felt tired and at peace. Far away, the queen stood alone in the palace again. She remembered the storm world, fire, the pain. She remembered a human standing between her and death, not with weapons, With choice, she understood now. Humans were never dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they endured everything, still chose kindness. The galaxy had feared humans too late. They had already proven who they were.